Roy Coons did not kill, did not attempt to rape, and he did not burglarize Johanna Ortega's mobile home. If it were as straightforward as the state just made it sound, we wouldn't be wasting your time. This case is going to be more about what you don't hear than what you do. I'll give you some examples. You're not going to hear from a single eyewitness that Mr. Coons went in that mobile home on that day. You're not going to see any video footage from security cameras showing that he did that. You're not going to hear from any witnesses that he had any motive or had attempted to do anything to this family in the past. The state's made a lot about the DNA, but let me tell you what they didn't tell you, and here's what you're going to hear about that. Now, I noticed some of you are kind of like when you start hearing Mr. Coons' DNA is in that trailer, you start shifting in your seats and you think, uh-oh, there may be something to this. But let me tell you why there's not. It's pretty simple. Before the Ortegas moved into that trailer, Mr. Coons and his father, who shares the same DNA profile, had been in that trailer hundreds, if not thousands of times. The previous occupant was a man named David Love Sr. who passed away. Before he died, Mr. Coons restretched the carpet in the bedroom where Miss Ortega was found. You will hear a description of how that is. That involves getting on your hands, your knees, sweating, pulling, getting stuck by tack strips, bleeding all over that carpet, in addition to the hundreds of times that he'd been there visiting. He also replaced all the weather stripping around every window in that trailer. You will hear a description of how that occurred. And when you hear the description of that window that they've been talking about, and you see the photographs of it, I want you to take a good look at Mr. Coons. This is not a window like you're thinking of. This is a window that's about this wide. There is no way Mr. Coons was trying to squeeze out of that window. He also did work in that same bathroom, fixing the toilet, the sink, the fan. His father had been down there every Saturday night for over a decade playing cards with Mr. Love. They spent a lot of time in that trailer, working, sweating. His father will even tell you that he bled in that trailer himself one time because he helped move some furniture out when they were stretching the carpet and he cut his hand. Why does that matter? Because the amount of DNA that was recovered in this case belonging to Mr. Coons was a matter of a few cells. Again, things you won't hear: no semen, no blood, no other identifiable bodily fluid that they can tell you what it was from. Likely skin cells, which you would expect someone wearing shorts on their hands and knees stretching out carpet. What the state also didn't tell you about this DNA is they found DNA of other people, several other people, that they identified and said this was this person's, this was that person's. A female came back with some clothing or the breast of the victim in this case. They can't explain how that got there. Well, they can, but they don't like the explanation because it also explains how Mr. Coons' DNA ended there. And that is a word you're going to hear a lot about, and that word is transference. Perhaps those other people had been in that location. Perhaps they had dropped things. Perhaps they had tried on clothes at the store and then Johanna took the clothes home and the DNA was still on there. We don't know. But of all the people whose DNA you would expect to be in that trailer is Roy Coons Jr. You'll also hear that not only was in that trailer, there were about 90 homes in that mobile home park community, and out of those, he was in at least half of those doing maintenance work. So you would probably find his DNA in half the homes over there, not just Miss Ortega's. You know, one of the ways I was asking about how do you judge someone's credibility and what they said and all of that, you know, they're going to talk about some encounters they had with Mr. Coons, and he was upset. Yeah, he was upset. He's getting accused for a murder he didn't do. Of course he's upset. But again, you're not going to hear any evidence that he actually left the state of Tennessee. You're going to hear that when he was arrested over a month and a half later for this crime, you know where he was? 2 trailers down at mom and dad's house where he lived. He had a car. He could have left. He didn't. He stayed here because he's innocent. So, as I said, we don't jump to conclusions. We don't start assuming things because of the little bit of evidence that you hear in the beginning and then some of the DNA things. You have to wait until you hear the whole picture. And after you do, I submit, you're going to have more than enough reasonable doubt, and I will ask you to find Mr. Coons not guilty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, that this would be the last part of what we covered today. We will start tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I want each of you to be downstairs in the jury assembly room by 8:45 a.m. tomorrow. 1 or 2 of my court officers will meet you there. In the interim, do not discuss this case or try to do any kind of research or anything about this case. You want to hear all of the evidence in this case right here from this witness stand. I want you to have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All right? All right. All right, I'll see you in the morning. We'll take up any preliminary matter. All right, have a good evening.